Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying?
I don't see Dylan
Yeah.
being real friendly. Oh, hi. Um, I don't see her being, like real friendly, as in like all the pictures I've seen, she's standing with her back towards people, and it's kind of seems like she might be a little selfish.
Here's
And
that one picture of Kaylee with the mirror, and then Dylan's like right over her shoulder, and she's got kind of a weird look on her face.
yeah, you
Like
guys
Kaylee's
go,
like looking at herself,
yeah, go back and
and
look at the
Dylan's got this.
pictures of Dylan. She's always got her
Mhm.
back to him, where she's the one that's, here's me, and then here's that. Yeah, you can kind of
Yeah.
tell she wants to be the center of attention.
Why you always lying?
Well, that is an absolute ridiculous claim to make. You don't even know her personally to begin with, but in her picture, she doesn't have her back turned to people. She doesn't look selfish, and she definitely doesn't look like she's trying to be the center of attention. So I just wanted to show you some of these. And then as far as that picture with Kaylee, she's not looking weird in that one either. It's the angle that they're at. Kaylee's shorter than her, but you can tell Dylan's also looking at the camera. So they're both looking into the camera for the selfie.
I wonder if from them being from Coeur d'Alene, and then she was the outsider from Boise,
Oh yeah,
that maybe that was part of it too, because obviously Kaylee and Maddie were, incredibly close.
I heard they
Um,
didn't like outsiders too in Moscow.
yeah,
Huh?
very strange.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Xana in Post Falls, that's not too far from Coeur d'Alene. So they're all from that general area. And then here's Dylan from Boise. I don't know if that had anything to do with that weird,
Yeah.
Why you always lying?
Well, here's your reminder that Bethany is from Nevada. So that has nothing to do with anything where the girls were from. And also, you have to remember Maddie's boyfriend was from Boise, and Emily, who was Xana's best friend, and Dylan's big, is also from Boise. So that had nothing to do with anything, and there wasn't a weird dynamic in the house.
She was a freshman, I believe, Dylan, or was she a
I don't.
sophomore? I think
I'm
she was a
not. I don't
freshman.
remember.
Yeah, and I
But
remember we looked up the laws there at the or the rules at the university, and they did
mhm.
not have to be in a campus housing as freshmen. They could
Yeah.
live off campus like
Okay.
that. So
Okay.
that was something I remember at the very beginning. Always was a wonder of how did she live with these girls that were older and that kind of thing. But it does seem to me just too much of a coincidence that all these people ended up in this house.
Why you always lying?
Okay, first of all, Dylan was a sophomore, not a freshman. But also, University of Idaho does have a residency requirement for freshmen. So they have to either be living in the dorms or the sororities or fraternities, like on campus housing, or even though fraternities and sororities are off campus, they're still considered freshmen on campus housing. And so Dylan lived in the sorority her freshman year, and then she moved into the King Road house her sophomore year. And as far as how they came to live together, it's not a mystery. And no, they weren't CIs. Maddie was already living in 1122 from the year prior. It was a Pi Beta Phi live out house. Maddie was a Pi Beta Phi. She was Bethany's big sister. Bethany and Dylan are very good friends. Dylan's big sister is Emily Allant, who was Xana's best friend. Again, all Pi Phis. So Maddie asked Xana, Bethany, and Dylan to live with her. And then Kaylee, being her best friend from all the years of school, even though Kaylee had been in a different sorority, of course, but they were best friends, she also asked to move in there. So that's how they all came to be. Had nothing to do with being a weird situation or non-organic, as some people are claiming. They knew each other through the sorority and then through Maddie. So not the big deal that people keep trying to make it out to be.
In regard to Hunter Johnson, the whole issue of his statement that he made at that memorial, he was the one that brought up to everybody that Dylan went to Coeur d'Alene, drove to Coeur d'Alene to talk to Kaylee to get her to come back for the party.
See,
And I thought, wow, I'll have to listen to that again, because I don't remember that. But if that's true, I wonder if it was one of those things where, he was doing that to keep her in line.
oh, okay.
Like, I hope you don't start thinking about talking about anything and interviewed her.
Our assumption that they're all CIs, including Hunter, is that's a good reason why, is because they were all pretty much babied. And so If they
Yeah.
weren't
If they
CIs,
knew they weren't
then
going to if they weren't going to press charges against her, it may have been just a show that they interviewed her. You know what I mean? So that people at least got that satisfied.
Why you always lying?
Okay, that's absolutely false. He never said anything about Dylan or Dylan driving up to Coeur d'Alene. And in fact, Dylan never drove up to Coeur d'Alene to ask Kaylee. That was a completely baseless rumor. Not true at all. And neither Hunter nor Dylan had anything to do with the murders. He was not a handler or threatening her or anything. Just ridiculous lies that people like you keep making up.
The way you're explaining it was like looking through 3D glasses.
yeah.
Like you said, you can't put something there that's not there. It may look,
Yeah, it started
different,
with
which you show it does because it's visible.
yeah, it started with that latent footprint outside Dylan's door, and I thought it was just kind of red fluid that got mopped up because there's so much amido black right there. You can tell it looks mopped, but I saw a faint redness, and so I wondered, why is there so much red? Just a tint on the normal picture, and so I just went and it just started to pop out footprints, and I was like, wait a minute. And I mean, I didn't know how to use any filters or anything. It's all on your phone. Anybody can do it. I'm working on a video, and I'll put it out and show you step by step how I do it, so you guys can go in and look at any picture and do it yourself and see if you
Right.
come up with the same thing, because I don't have any special equipment. It's just my phone. So
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
impressive.
Why you always lying?
Okay, first of all, that's not how it's done. You cannot determine that there's footprints there by playing around with your camera and computer and your exposure, etc. Okay, you're not a forensic analyst. That's not how it's done. Secondly, the amido black is blue normally. So that doesn't mean there was the presence of blood just because you see that blue pool. And in fact, the latent footprint outside of Dylan's door did not test positive for blood. There was no blood present. And amido black binds to proteins and not necessarily proteins in blood. It could be in urine, it could be in vomit, etc. So what we do know is that footprint was not from blood.
But a couple of officers could make something like this go quite a bit easier if they are being paid to do so and they know, what they need to do to keep people away, like hang out at the band field and bother college kids walking across the field and tell them that they're drunk and all this other nonsense. And then the damn charges get dropped the next day. So you knew it was completely bogus.
Yeah.
These tickets that they got written for, I think it was $300 a piece, and then they just threw them out. So
Why you always lying?
That's absolutely false, Pete. The citations were not thrown out. This was Peter's. You can see right here as I scroll down where he paid it. And then we're going to take a look at Ethan's, and you'll see as I scroll down where Ethan paid his. Okay? And then we'll look at Taylor's, and we'll see where Taylor paid his. So no, those citations were not thrown out, and no, the officers doing the minor in possession patrols were not in on anything. This was not a cover-up, and police was not involved.
could the perpetrators left through the windows? They left. Xana's room had looked like it had a sliding window, so it was tall.
Okay.
So it wasn't like a small window, like with a sash. It was like a
Yeah.
slider.
Where you could just step
And
out
you
of.
could climb right
Mhm.
out on that porch roof. I mean, Drip Drop, I credit him because he's the one where I
Yeah.
saw it. But Drip Drop talked about it, and there's red stuff out there.
Why you always lying?
Except that's not true, Pete. The picture Drip Drop and others were showing was photoshopped. They played around with the contrast and the color to make it look red. This is the original. So, big difference. There was not blood outside of Xana's window, and forensics analysis determined that the intruder did not come in through the windows.